Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Duel Screens podcast. We have a jam-packed episode for you this week. We have 3 guests with us. That makes 5 total people on this episode. Andy, first of all, I just want to touch it back to you. How are you doing? It's been a couple of days since we hung out. How are you?
It has been. It's been the same. Nothing has changed. The days are all one at this point. I'm not going to 1 month for it anymore. But this show at least keeps me a little grounded in these trying times we're in right now.
I wish we recorded the show at the same day every week because it would at least keep my days straight, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
So joining us this week, we have Michael Yum, the CEO of PM Studios. We have Fernando Cruz, the director of Evolutis, and Nick Torchia, the executive producer of Evolutis. What is going on, everybody? We'll start with Fernando. How are you?
I'm fine, and you, man? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's very late where you are. It's like the morning, technically. So we do appreciate you coming to join us. Nick, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invites. It's exciting to talk with you guys and to talk more about the upcoming game.
Yeah, this should be a lot of fun. And who's left here? I'm sorry. Oh, Mike. Yes, Mike. How are you?
Good. How are you?
You're the only one that doesn't have a name in the Google chat. It's just the phone number, so I blanked on your name. I have the memory of a goldfish. Anyway, for those of you that are new to the Duel Screens podcast, this is very simple. This is an interview show where we bring on industry guests, whether they're voice actors, directors, artists, programmers. It doesn't matter who they are. They all have a story to tell, and we are the platform for them to do so. The Duel Screens podcast posts each and every Thursday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home, Podbean, and you can find everything we do on duelscreens.com, and every episode goes up on our YouTube at youtube.com/duelscreens.tv. So let's just jump right into this thing. Evolutis. Andy and I saw this game at PAX East this year, right before the entire world went to shit. And it was visceral. It was pretty damn shocking. It was pretty awesome. Andy, what were your thoughts when you played? Because I know you were blown away by it.
Yeah, my first thought was like, I am playing Aeon Flux or like a heavy metal or like a Blade Runner or like an Akira. It feels like I was playing an actual 80s anime, and I was obsessed with it. Obsessed.
He's not lying.
He's
not lying.
Wow. Thanks so much, man.
So I guess the question here is, and I'll let you guys decide who answers this. Can you explain to our listeners what is Evolutis?
I think Fernando should answer that.
Yeah, I can answer this question. So, Evolutis is basically a 2D story-driven action adventure game that features 3 main playable characters that will have their paths intertwined at some point in the game. So the characters, they are so realistic. There is so much depth on their personality and traits. We believe the players will get really attached to them, we expect. So mostly because they're like us, they are flawed human beings and they're going through some hardships in their life. For example, like Chelsea, our female character, she's a famous wrestler and she has thousands of fans, money, etc. But there is something missing inside of her, like her best friend is her cat named Oliver. And she's a person of high integrity that has to go against her principles in order to keep her no biological father alive. So we are working so much on the characters, to make them to look like human beings,
That's awesome, and it is kind of from the limited scope that we got to sit down and play at PAX. It did feel very very down to earth. It felt, as much as the atmosphere was very fantastical and it felt very almost like neon punk. It still felt very grounded in some form of reality. Like the emotions that you were seeing across the screen were very real. I assume that was that's part of the thing with all 3 characters and not just the one we played, because we played one the gentleman. I forget what his name was. It's
Damon Reed.
Gotcha.
Damon.
I mean, it was insane. They were part, and a lot of it has to do with like choice, right? Like a lot of these things were, you could do, one or two different things depending on, what your play style is. Can you go a little bit about what decisions you're going to be making in the game?
Yes, for sure. So it will change a lot of the story. If I don't know if you played the demo at Axis, but if you do not kill the guy who was hot wiring your bike, you find him later in the game, and you remind him that you did not kill him and stuff like that. It was just like a small example, but it is basically like that. So there will be a lot of choices in the game.
How long ago did you guys start this thing? How long have you guys been in development?
Well, it all started in 2015. It was a time that I was studying about transhumanism, such as like mind uploading, lifespan pills, and nanotechnology, basically all kinds of futuristic technology, So I've been reading and researching about Albert Degree, who is known as the father of transhumanism, Michio Kaku, Jason Silva, the creator of Homo Evolutis, Juan Enriquez, I think that's his name, Yuval Harari, the creator of Sapiens and Homo Deus. So by doing this research and reading, I found it quite interesting and crazy at the same time. And it started to raise some questions like, what is it to be human? Do we have a soul? What if we could transfer our minds, our memories to a new body? Would your brains be hackable? Could they erase our memories and rewrite history?
All the simple
Would
questions
this body
in life,
be
right?
yeah. Would this body be would this body be a simple ghost in the shell? And if it ever happens, who would be pulling the strings? Or has it already happened and we all living in a computer simulation? So I was really addicted to this concept, and that was the start point for Evolutis. And of course, it is not a transhumanist propaganda, or we're not trying to teach people, like to force them to believe in a certain type of religions or whatever. We want let the players to decide what they believe in. But basically, Evolutis is more about the characters, their struggles, and their interactions among to one another. It is basically that.
I got a question for Mike and or Nick. What drew PM Studios to this project? What made you say we want this under our team's banner?
I guess I'll take that question. So I actually knew Nick for a long time, and Nick joined the project. He was showing me what he was up to, and as soon as I saw like a little snippet of the game, just even the graphics, I was like, oh, I knew we had to do this game. Like, I've never seen anything like it before. It just completely blew me away. And then the moment I talked to Fernando and kind of got an idea of the game, I knew it was something that could be groundbreaking. And so they had a few plans for the games, and I just told them I'm willing to back up anything to make this one happen for them. So it was simple. When anybody really sees like the first, scene or just any scene from the game, I think they will be blown away by it. And it completely shocked me. I haven't seen anything like this. And I play a lot of video games.
Yeah, I think I called
it's a true gamer.
It was like Detroit Become Human, but with actual engaging gameplay. Is how I described it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, real quick, Nick here. Yeah, just to add on to what Mike said, it was it was actually really interesting because it's actually kind of an interesting story. So real quick, Fernando had posted the trailer on like Facebook, and it just kind of came across my feed. This was in Fernando, I think it was like November 2018. And I just so I just blindly emailed Fernando because I was doing some biz dev for some other people, and we just started talking. Then we kind of became, I guess you can say, became like Facebook friends, even though that sounds lame. But we just started chatting, and then all of a sudden, I was like, "Hey, this was all new to me. I'm like, do you mind if I try and help you find publishing funding? And, because these guys are trying, they're trying to make the game. There's a lot of moving pieces. And we were close. We reached out to a couple different publishers. They were into it, but then they didn't get back, blah, 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 blah. Then fast forward, I think it was like 3 days before the Indiegogo. Like I said, I had lunch with Mike over here where I live. And we're like, hey, what's going on? And I just showed him on my phone the trailer. And I remember Mike saying, I want this. And I'm like, okay, I wish all deals were that easy, but that's how it happened. Mike's got a great instinct to see, where games are going. A lot of publishers don't have that. They go with a lot of red tape. We got to do Excel sheets. You got to do, Mike is like, boom, I want it. And here we are.
Wow.
Thank you, Nick.
I mean, that's an awesome story. Like how in some ways it's like a simple, it's like a beautifully simple thing that happened, but it's like kind of like a perfect disaster of circumstance. So I want to go back to like the whole Indiegogo thing, because a lot of the devs that we have on the show, they come from like a Kickstarter, or like they're solo devs and they just make their thing and that's it. So how does Indiegogo differ from other platforms when it comes to like game development?
We chose Indiegogo over Kickstarter because there is no Kickstarter here in Portugal. I don't know why, but
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting.
that was the only reason why we chose Indiegogo.
Wow. I wonder why,
But
though, of all things, not to be available in Portugal. Kickstarter.
I don't know.
It always comes down to taxes, right? It's some sort of tax thing.
Yeah, probably.
Because I thought you get to keep all the money regardless of if you hit your goals or not. Logo works.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I'm glad we didn't get it, because I know Indiegogo's. I know Mike and I talked about this. You spend so much time with the community management that's why a lot of these games take a lot longer to make, because you're balancing making the game and you're dealing with they really are investors. You have a whole bunch of investors in your game, so you got to make your investors proud of the product. You got to keep talking to them. You got to give them updates. It's a lot of work. So I tell you, man, it was a godsend that Mike came in, because we were excited. We're like, oh, good, thank God we don't have to deal with that large community, because it also eats up quite a bit of your money as well, because you have to spend a lot of your time and resources for the community.
Right. So I want to ask, the first big showing for this game was at PAX East, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
So were you in attendance, Fernando, or no? I don't remember if you were there or not.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay. So what was it like seeing your game on the floor of a big convention? And what was the reaction like from gamers who got to play your game for the first time?
Oh man, it was such an amazing experience, thanks to Mike and his team. And I always wanted to go to PAX, especially because of that famous indie movie on Netflix. I think you all watch it. And even though we took just 2 months to develop that build that was displayed at PAX East, I think the most part of the feedback was really positive. I was not expecting people to like the game this much, and which is great for us because people haven't seen nothing yet. There is so much more cool stuff in Evolutis. It's a shame because we're not attending E3. They cancel. No one is attending E3, right? But we had some cool things planned to show at E3, but didn't happen. Maybe next year.
Right, but there's always that Summer of Gaming festival and other things you can look forward to next couple of months.
But man, I love it, and I love this city as well. I've never been to Boston before. I think I didn't know it was such a beautiful place, and I'm not sure if it's all Americans, but I don't know how you call people that were born in Boston. It's like Bostons or something.
Bostonians, I think it's the actual
Bostonians.
Oh, okay.
Listen, as New Yorkers, we can't praise Boston too much.
Yes, yeah. I saw enough Tom Brady jerseys. I wanted to jump in the river or whatever.
I think people there are really friendly, and very polite. and I'm not sure if it's because they are gamers, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah, PAX is always a lot of fun for us, and it's a very unique experience for a lot of developers because it is so focused on the indies, really. I mean, and more so this year because some of the big guys just didn't show. Like they just canceled, so there was a lot more space that the indies could really shine. Aside from Nintendo, shitting on everybody's lunch with their Animal Crossing booth. But other than that, it was pretty cool to see so much more focus on the indie games. So I guess that would be a good segue. So you mentioned that now your E3 plans are kind of gone to shit. Other thing. I'm sure you had other plans for other conventions, either in the States or out of the States. So what has the scramble been like? What have you guys been trying to do to kind of make up that lost face time with the game?
I guess I'll take this one too. So I mean, I actually started off as a developer, so I knew the importance of wanting to see my game at the booths and what the publisher can do. And we really had every show planned this year. We were going to be at GDC, EGX Res, E3, Tokyo Game Show, Bit Summit, literally all of them.
God, expensive.
No, not really. I mean, it was our first year of just coming out and just supporting all the indie developers and especially Fernando in this title, because this was our big first really big title to push something out this huge. But we actually do have some new things planned. A lot of the industry guys have been kind of coming together. What can we do? Some people, can't afford to do this. And, but yeah, so we do have some stuff planned. We haven't really unveiled much, but we are planning on doing some type of media blitz starting June. We always felt that Nintendo had a good thing going with their Nintendo Direct. Mm-hmm. And so, that's a good example of it. If some of us can get together and do something like that to help, get these games out there. We're looking into something like that. But then the more important thing was we wanted people to try the games too. So we're looking into some new tech where people can actually still try the games out, even though they're at home. But yeah, that's a little...
Yeah, but that's really the biggest. That's really the biggest hurdle is there's no substitute for seeing people play your games, because even if they don't communicate with you, they're still communicating. Just based on what they do, whether they get up, walk away, whether they have a smile on their face, whether the tongue starts sticking out the side because they're really focused, or they're horrified by the graphic nature of everything that happens when you decide to lop somebody's head clear off their shoulders. There's a lot of different things going on. So we're seeing a lot of developers really struggling to kind of find that middle ground. So I'm glad that there are a bunch of developer communities coming together to try and really solve these things. That would be really encouraging to see, especially during E3 time.
Yep. But we are trying. We are trying to figure something out. We did get some updates that there are some conventions opening this year. I just can't see how it's going to happen, but if it does, we'd love
whether or not it happens. I feel like is a moot point when people are going to probably be afraid to go. At least in certain, I can't imagine anything like that happening in New York, where we are. People. I mean, we're losing 500 people a day to this thing, or if not more. It's just, I don't know. I feel like we're definitely a ways away from that, especially in populated cities, which is where you want to show these games off to begin with. But we'll see. I mean, for people have been talking about making these demos more widely available anyway, because the more hands, the better. So it would be nice to see some sort of this would be the absolute perfect thing for somebody like Google to jump in with Stadia. Stadia has diddly dick right now, but if they come out and they say, we are the home of your E3 demos, join Stadia with a free demo for a week and play everything that's on the show floor, stream it directly to your, whatever. I mean,
Oh, that's very fitting. Is to associate a dying show with a dying platform. I love it.
exactly.
It's a perfect combination right there.
As you know, a negative times a negative makes a positive, Andy. As you know.
There's actually Nick here. There's actually one I wouldn't say positive sign to like some of these things being moved out, canceled, etc. Is that a lot of them are like one on top of another. You have PAX. First was supposed to be GDC, then PAX and E3. That it's like boom, 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 and all the time you always want to show a different build, what's new, right. And that takes a lot of time for indie. Fernando's team. We're not 100. We're not 50 people, so it takes a while to get these things right. So you keep disrupting development where it's like, okay, Fernando, we just did this, and they can work a little bit. They're like, oh, now we need an E3 demo. Then you got to just focus on that. So it takes time away from the other game. So it's a trade-off. So it kind of allows Fernando and his team to be like, okay, at least there's no E3. You kind of settle down a little bit and you can focus and just kind of like head down working on the overall game rather than, I got to stop. I got to because look, you got to make the build. You got to test it, QA, fit. So it takes time. So that's like a little bit of silver lining, but we'll see what happens.
It makes me wonder.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
No, like that's a good point. Like, imagine if you remove all of the convention event elements from a dev team, will the game come out a lot sooner without these? As you put it, it's actually a pretty good question. I wonder, like, what the impact is on small devs who are trying to get their work done, but they have to constantly get it out to show to promote it.
It's interesting, and this is kind of like piggybacking off of that, because a lot of the companies that do use like a Kickstarter, they have to show something anyway. So a lot of times they're putting up their latest build, or they're going in early access, so they have something like that. They have like their next early access build. But what I do notice is that it's kind of a double standard, because AAA studios or double A studios, as it were, or whatever, they don't have to do that. Like, they'll show an E3 demo, and then the next year at PAX East show the same demo, which we saw ourselves. Final Fantasy VII, Predator Hunting Grounds did the same thing. They showed the same demo that they did 6 months prior. But I guess they can get away with it because more people are clamoring to play those games, as opposed to an indie dev where it's like, well, I already saw this game last year or 6 months ago or 4 months ago, and it's the same thing. I'm going to walk away. I feel like that's kind of like a double standard there. That kind of sucks for the little guys.
It's very community based. The indie games. I mean, that's all. It's all about building buzz. Doing YouTube, reaching out to influencers. Yeah, you got to keep it going and spreading the word. But yeah, it's an excellent point.
So what has been how has it been going with you guys as far as community building? What's been the hardest part of it? What's been going really well for you guys? Speak on that front a little bit.
I'll take this one. It's actually been a smooth ride. I personally didn't want to show too much because I felt the game was a little still too early. And then, like Nick was saying, like every time we were planning on doing a new show and showing something new, like the amount of pressure that Fernando had and like just nonstop sleeping to get things ready, and he doesn't want to disappoint people, right. So like he would polish it to like literally like the last day, and he has to fly out here. And as somebody that's been on that side, I didn't want to do that to him at all. But after he got his first experience with PAX, it kind of rejuvenated him. And then like he saw how much people liked it, and I think he really enjoyed that environment. So like he actually wanted to keep doing it more and more and more. So we reactivated his Twitter. He's starting to engage with people. But at the same time, now I think he has a little bit of pressure on wanting to keep showing new content to people. But that's why I told him, like, hey, this is why I really wanted you to not take that Indiegogo, because I'm not going to press you to do these things, right? And so you don't have to worry about delivering things on time. Whereas everybody else if you did do like a Kickstarter, they would be pushing you and demanding to see things. And I'm more of like a developer too. So I really wanted him to just take it slow and do it at his own pace. But yeah, the community is like kind of coming together, right, Fernando?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, the Kickstarter, because on the one hand, you have access to a lot of folks for immediate feedback, and you can be so transparent with your product. But then, if you miss your deliverables and your dates, people don't hide their resentment or their critique of you at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we've had some pretty cool, like recently we reached out, a couple like YouTube guys have their own channel, reached out to Fernando, and they've been following the game for a while. Like, hey, do you guys have anything new? And we sent them like the walkthrough of the PAX demo and some information. And what's interesting about this game is that if you look at some of these YouTube pages for these, these YouTubers, not to toot our own horn, but the game, but I will. But they're by far, like when we look at the views, they're like 3, 4, sometimes 5 times what some of these other games are getting on their pages. So we have something. We look at that. We have something that's really kind of unique that people see. Go like, dude, what is this game? You see what I'm saying? It grabs your attention.
100% does.
And yeah, and that's what's really cool about this game. People, I mean, how many times that PAX guys, people are like, what game is this? Like, we heard about this, and we're like, oh, wow. It was really good to hear that, and it's a great pat on the back to, Fernando and his team. But it's really interesting to see, the likes, the thumbs up, and the comments. So we feel like we have something cooking, which is exciting.
One of the first things that I asked myself was, what IP is this? Because it doesn't look like it's something made from the ground up. It looks like something that had to have been established already, just based on the world building, the polish, how everything, the characterizations, just all of it just looked like it was like a game. Like, you guys signed an IP and are making this cool little adventure game for this IP, but like that is far from the case here.
It's a brand new IP, and Fernando has just built this whole world with all these characters, and every time I see something new, I'm just blown away. I just like, we're always messaging each other. He's always showing us stuff, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. And honestly, we haven't even shown like not 99% of the game still. There's a lot of secrets that we've been holding back, and I think when the world sees some of the stuff, it's I'm not going to compare it to like Marvel, but it is like a whole world with all these characters. They're super fascinating. Like, even some of the NPCs like are just so unique and so different. Like, I don't even know how he comes up with some of these ideas.
Yeah, Fernando's got a sick mind.
Yeah.
Just do me a favor. Do me a favor when you guys start marketing hard for this game, when you do like launch trailers and little trailers and that kind of thing, just keep all that stuff a secret, because lately I feel like everything's getting spoiled in a trailer released by a company for your game. Like FF7. Death Stranding. There's so much endgame content in your launch trailer. It's like that game comes out next week, and I just saw what was maybe the ending. I don't know, possibly. And it is.
That's a great point. I remember when we started. Remember the guys so the teaser one we did when we first launched the game. We were discussing back and forth what should we do. Then Fernando came up with that cool little boom, boom, boom snippet, and Mike and him, they're all like, oh, this makes sense. And we kind of equate to, remember when we first saw the Matrix teaser? Mm-hmm. We're like, what the hell movie is this? But then you were hooked. You had no idea what it was about, but you're like, this is cool. I'm all in. So we kind of took that approach, and I think we're going to kind of take that archetype and kind of build around that to kind of tease players what it's going to be. I mean, the trailer, dude's got he rips out the heart. I mean,
right, yeah.
Who does that?
What's the context there? It's a
exactly.
50-second trailer.
Yeah, Fernando knows, and that's what's cool about it. Where we just kind of came like, here you go, a little shocking moment, and and it's just fun. Let Fernando and his team just run wild, have fun. Be provocative. Push the limits and see what the people's responses are.
And what can players look forward to outside of it's easy to look at it. It's easy to look at especially the trailer and say, "Oh, this is shocking." What can they look forward to outside of just like a shock value or stunning visuals? Like what moment? Let's talk about moment to moment gameplay. I think that's something that's kind of hard to explain through a podcast. But like, if anybody can, it's the three of you. So. Right, because I mean it's side scrolling, but it's kind of like it's very methodical. It's very the pacing is very deliberate. It's not necessarily you're not going around just swinging a sword, or swinging a gun or something like that. So why don't we just talk a little bit about like the moment to moment gameplay, just to give people a mental picture of what they'd be doing once they pick up the controller or the keyboard and mouse.
That's all you, Fernando.
Okay, so moment to moment, that's tough. There are some features that I would like to keep secret,
Sure.
But one of the features that I like the most, I can tell you guys maybe off record, but not right now.
No.
So
this is very much on record, Fernando. So you watch what you say around.
Do I want to know? Maybe I don't want to
know. Spoiler-free zone, all right?
So, so you were right about everything you said. We didn't want to come up with a game that you're just like swinging your sword and killing foes every corner. I'm not sure if we could convey this into the demo, but this game will be like kind of an open world game. So you'll be able to get it on your bike and go to different places, and we are building this intelligence thing. When you like approach a character or our enemy, or even if you just start shooting one another, you can like maybe open up a conversation and say, "Come on, guys, let's stop doing that. I don't want to kill you," or crazy things like that. We want to give a lot of control to the players, to do different things, not only just aim for the head and shoot enemies. And okay, I'm gonna.
Do the three characters play differently?
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's easier for you when you are playing as Damon. He's the most intelligent person, so it's easier for him to find different ways without using his gun, And Derek, he's really unstable, emotional person. So if you're playing as Derek, it'll be more difficult for you not to shoot people, I don't want to explain so much how this is going to play out.
Sure.
But I think it's going to be something really unique, and I'm expecting people to really dig this, And Chelsea, her body's like her weapon, She's the most powerful among them, and they will all get together, at some point in the game. The thing I was not going to tell you, but I will say anyway. It'll be able for you to swap characters anytime you want. I think you saw that in Grand Theft Auto,
yes.
It's not like in Grand Theft Auto, but it's something similar, And like when you are in your house, like Chelsea, when she's in the streets, she's a different person, like she puts on her mask. All characters, like human people, like human beings, all human beings with people. So but when you are alone in your apartment or your house, you'll be able to know more about the characters, And if you, just an example, if you sit on the bed, and you start to think like a human, just a normal human being, and you can control the character's thoughts, And imagine Derek, he sits on his bed and he starts to think about the Damon, what they were talking about. So you hold down a button and you will pop up all of his thoughts, possible thoughts. Imagine you go on and you choose that. Oh, I think Damon is a liar. So if you start following this line of thought, it will open new activities. And new stuff for you to do.
So what
it
you
is
tell
basically-
I'm sorry, what you tell the character to think
Mhm.
will determine
Mhm.
the path of the story?
Exactly.
Wow, that's cool. I like that. I like the sound of that.
And,
Now,
and it can open new missions, new activities. Like if you start to believe it, it's just an example, no? Okay? I'm not spoiling the game.
yeah.
If you start,
he's
Okay.
reassuring Mike and Nick and his family. No spoilers, guys. Just let me say my thing.
Yeah, I'm like,
it is just an example, If you start to thinking that maybe Chelsea and Damon, they are lying to you, and you start like cooking this idea, in the middle of the night, it will be it will open a new quest for you, and you can like maybe just get your gun and go after them, or like to see what's
Investigate it
really
a little
going
bit.
on. And yeah,
Cool.
exactly.
That's cool.
And I'm wondering, could you kill one of the other characters?
All right,
that could be
relax.
It is possible.
No, I'm not saying you should answer, but I'm just
Chill.
now my mind's going in certain places.
Well, it's Nick. There's an interesting part of the demo, just to give you a little more granular with what Fernando was saying. So there's a part when after you get on the bike to the other part of the city, when you're walking by, you're going to see, correct me if I'm wrong, Fernando, you're going to see like a crime scene in the background down an alley.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is depending on what you do earlier in the game and what kind of choices you make, you can actually stop that crime from happening.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's a bunch of
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of like interesting things where we'll play around with a little bit of the narrative. Everything will converge, but we have these like really kind of open-ended storylines that kind of open, close. So that's the kind of fun part for replayability, because like if I'm playing the game, it's like, I didn't do that shit. How'd you get that? So we're kind of playing around with that.
Now, if I
I'll
stop
jump in
the
for a
crime,
second too. Oh,
can I
sorry.
can I commit the crime?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, Andy.
You were saying, Mike?
So yeah, I was gonna say, we're big fans of like Metroidvania games, I'm pointing this out that a lot of people, when they see like the 2D visuals and then the guy being able to run from side to side and pick up things, it's not a Metroidvania game. So we just wanted to make sure people knew it wasn't like a Metroidvania game where it was like action adventure based. This game is very driven by story. So, like you were saying, it's a little bit slower paced. It's a lot about exploring and then kind of figuring out the characters. And then with that being said, there's a lot of new gameplay elements too that we have just not shown anything to. Yeah, and that's one of the big secrets on the game too, like on how the game plays. And so, but yes, one of the biggest things for this game is just the way a story is being told. And so, and we really felt like video games are the only way to express this type of new narrative.
So you're promising a deep story-driven game with amazing graphics, and then when they get their hands on it and the gameplay sets in, it'll blow their fucking minds.
That's what we were hoping for. And honestly, like to this day, I still don't even know how these guys are able to animate some of the stuff, right? And so it's just mind-blowing. It's a very, very small team. And yeah.
How small is the team?
3-member team, the core team.
Wow. Ooh, okay.
4 people? Is that what you just said?
3.
3.
Oh, it's even less.
So, when you see all those graphics and that amount of animation, and you saw like the NPCs walking by and everything, 3 people are doing that.
So that's all in-house. There's no like, it's not going to like overseas in some like China animation studio. Like, here guys, draw this for us. Just draw this, and we'll program.
Because
Yep, it's just the key guys. They're doing everything in-house.
I think this has like surpassed Cuphead for me in terms of look and hand-drawn animation, because that looks like it harkens back to like those 1930s cartoons. I get it; it's all nice and cute, but this is just, it evokes so much more better imagery. Like again, those 80s animes like a Cowboy Bebop, for example, that kind of a look.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you guys said it early on. I kind of smirked a little bit, Mike. I'm sure you did as well. When we were kind of doing like how do you pitch this game? I said it's like it's a playable anime.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of in our PowerPoint and pitch text, which is kind of funny. So I'm glad you picked up on that because we kind of that's what it was. We're like, what's our kind of interesting hook besides the visuals? We're like, oh, let's just make it a playable anime. And we're going. What's interesting from PAX, we didn't really pick up on this one. But a lot of people called out the movie Heavy Metal. You remember the 80s?
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, that's really. If you look back, you're like, oh shit, there is that flavor to it as well. So, yeah, it's just really cool. I mean, wait to see the bike when the bike crashes. That's awesome.
Oh god. So you guys targeting PC or home consoles too for Evolutis?
Both.
Cool.
Both.
Awesome.
Switch. I wonder this on the Switch.
Why not?
I'll allow it.
We're not confirming, but yeah.
Not confirmed.
PC. We're saying PC consoles.
PC consoles.
PC consoles.
Yeah,
Keep it broad.
PC consoles. Next gen consoles. What? Who? What? What? You have a dev kit? Cool.
Game Boy Advance.
All right. 3DS. All right. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's go into our rapid fire, which we're going to do a little differently, listeners. Because there are 3 guests this week, what we're going to do is we're going to ask which one of the 3 is more likely to blank or whatever. And I'll start it off. Which one of you is likely to win a pizza eating contest?
Me. Michael.
Nick.
Probably Mike.
Oh, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike's
God, they all knew right away.
Mike's Mike. I call him. We call him an undercover grubber. Yeah, he can eat.
No.
All right, Andy, you go.
Who's likely not to separate the recycling from the actual trash?
Ooh.
That's me. I know. I can tell that. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. They probably don't know, but I'll call myself right. That's totally me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who is more likely to forget to wash their hands after using the toilet?
That's me.
That's Fernando.
I always forget.
You know what? I was gonna.
My wife is always complaining about. She's like, "Oh man, your hands stink."
Who is more likely to chase a bear into the woods?
Jesus Christ.
I don't think any of us. I think we're chicken shit. I think we're running away. We're like, we're getting Uber. We're like, we're out of here. Yeah, we're not messing.
You're not going to stand on each other's shoulders and just try and scare the bear away.
Nope.
Look big.
We're video game guys. We're
Make
not
yourself
heroes.
big.
Looks like my mother-in-law.
Ooh. Run away! Who is more likely? Who is more likely to own a real sword?
Mike.
Mike.
Me.
Mike.
Yeah, me.
So you
All
got to
right,
see one of these days. You got to see Mike's video game collection.
Oh boy!
It's like one of the, what is there 7 wonders of the world? What are 8? Mike's the other one.
Yeah. Everybody who comes to and sees it is just like, wow, this is bigger than GameStop. It's like headquarters.
No, it is GameStop. It's called Mike's.
Yeah.
Like
It's crazy.
Neverland.
So, as a quick aside, Mike, what is your most prized possession in your video game collection?
You know,
So
it's
I
bad
have-
when he has to think about it.
Yeah,
That's why it's a deep question.
Watch out. He's gonna steal.
I mean, I have a lot of stuff, but there's 2 things I own.
Isn't the
that I know-
Metroid one? Isn't it like one of the Metroid or something?
Mm-hmm. That one is probably up. Yeah, that's probably my number 1. So I have a Nintendo DS where there was only one made.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's called the Sundance Brown DS. Yeah.
How'd that happen?
What is Sundance Brown DS?
So I think I forgot when it was, but I want to say 2004 or 2003. The tsunami happened, and then so Nintendo made 3 special DSs: a green, a blue, and a brown one, and they took it to Sundance Film Festival. They auctioned it off to the actors, the famous actors, and then whatever it sold for, they matched it, and everybody donated it, all the money to like the tsunami charity. And then the actors, we auctioned it back off to the public, and then that's when I bought it.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I don't remember how much, but I remember I paid a lot, and I remember a lot of people offering me a lot of money after that.
Well, there's a backup plan.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's how you fund your games. Got it. All right.
All right.
Who is most likely to get a visit from the FBI?
That would probably be me.
Same reason.
And
Is it because you're
actually,
sword?
No, actually, there's actually a real reason for that. But yeah, that Mike is correct. It would be
Yeah. It actually happened to me recently.
Oh my!
Oh my God!
Yep.
That's
It wasn't. I didn't do anything wrong. Actually, I've been done wrong.
oh.
He was the
I
victim.
see.
Mike was the victim. Mike was
Got
the victim.
Yeah, I was a victim of some cyber attack.
Oh, what a
And
twist!
so
That's how they.
yeah.
It's very fitting.
Which one of you?
Out of all the questions, I love how you picked the FBI. And Mike's like, well,
Very
you
specific
know,
question.
Yeah.
Here we
to be
go.
honest.
What do you know? So, which one of the three of you is more likely to become a supervillain?
Probably
Nick.
Fernando. Oh, really? Me? I was thinking Fernando because the stuff he comes up with.
No
he's got
way.
yeah, you got a crazy mind, man. You can put it down on paper. So I thought you.
Yeah, but it is on paper,
Hey.
so that's a problem.
I think
Yeah.
you're projecting there, Nick. You're trying to
totally am.
you're trying to
I'm
make him the bad guy. Meanwhile, you're like robbing the bank in the background.
I'm totally projecting. So it's kind of half and half. So
Nick. I was just kidding, by the way.
no, I know. I take no offense. I probably could be the bad guy, but for like I said, Fernando's a little more sick and twisted because of the stuff he comes up with his game. That's why.
Yeah.
And watch out! I was born in Brazil. You know, the place is so corrupted.
All right, Andy, you go.
Who is more likely to leave their baby on a bus?
Not me.
Well, probably. I don't know. That's a good one. I mean, probably Fernando is a little absent-minded.
No way.
No, because he's so enthralled and
I lost everybody.
One eternity later.
Right
Yeah,
answer
her
to the
favorite.
question.
Okay, sorry
That is
about
the right
that.
answer.
The whole internet
Ooh, and
went
you still
down.
married her?
Yeah. Dude, and you know what though? I'm gonna tell you guys. So I'm from LA. I've been to New York. I did not like the pizza there. I just did not get it. I've tried it all, right?
You can't all be winners. All right.
Yeah. But
No, I'm just joshing.
Boston.
All right, I am back.
Boston had the best
So
pizza.
I don't know where we left off because it all just cut out at once.
No one knew you were gone, to be honest. I didn't say anything.
Right, but it wasn't recording any of that because I record everything on my end. So
Oh, that's right.
yeah, so
That's
I have
great.
no idea what
It all just went to shit
yeah,
then.
exactly. So the last thing we were talking about was the supervillain, right? All right.
Oh, boy.
So then,
I've lost track
so then
entirely.
it's your question, Andy, and then we'll wrap it up. All right. Your question, and then I'll hit it with one more.
I've asked him like 5 questions since you disappeared.
Well, I was texting you. Okay.
I was so deep in the conversation, like I just wasn't paying any attention.
Man, now we can't recreate the magic.
No, it's dead now. You ruined it.
Well, you know what? I have questions.
Do you have questions? So do I.
Maybe you didn't.
I'm
Maybe you didn't
questioning
ask,
this
maybe,
whole
maybe you
entire-
didn't ask this question. I don't know.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. From the three of you, this is a different one. Which one of you do you think you could take in a fight, me or Andy? Mm-hmm.
Hard to say.
I'll take you both on.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like it. I like the cut of your jib. Go ahead, Andy.
Let's see. Trying to think. I had some good ones before. Now my mind's a blank. Yeah. I don't know.
All right. The three of you are in
Which one?
a Cessna. You're in one of them Cessna planes. Pilot goes out. He's dead. Which one of you is going to take that control stick and land that bad boy?
Me.
On maybe Mike. I'm pulling a Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom. I'm grabbing an inflatable raft and jumping out, and hopefully I'll land on the snow. Yeah, that was a great scene.
It was a pretty good scene.
But probably Mike. I'd probably let Mike take that. I'll be like panicking or something like that.
Mike, what makes you qualified to do such a thing?
I play a lot of flight simulators.
Ah.
Oh, I got this.
Snakes on a plane.
Don't worry, I got this,
situation.
guys.
I like it.
Yeah. Mhm. Find us some land.
All right, Andy, hit us up with one more question, then we'll get out of here.
All right. Let's see. Who would be more likely to squander their lottery winnings on dumb shit?
I have a feeling I think the answer is Mike on this one.
Mike.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for
It was dead silence. We're all like, yeah,
it's all pizza and swords.
I'm now collecting swords, guys. I'm done with video games.
It's
I've leveled up.
made out of swords.
That's a great name. That's a great name for a place. Pizza and Swords.
I like it. I like it a lot.
That's how you cut the pizza.
I'd go there.
Folks, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. I do apologize for the little screw up there at the very end, but my internet died, and that's just things that happen here in the land of podcasting over the internet. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at NDS Podcast. I am at Batchild27. Andy is at Pants Guy, and our Facebook group is facebook.com/group/DS Podcasts. Gentlemen, I don't know which one of you wants to take this, but where could everybody find what you guys and all the game and everything else?
Twitter,
Facebook, and Instagram.
Yeah. What's your Twitter handle?
Yeah.
And the website as well. Oh, my Twitter is Evolutis1.
Evolutis1?
Number one.
Okay. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Evolutis number one. Then it's what, Mike? What's yours? Yours is at PM Studios.
I think so. At PM Studios USA, I'm not sure. Sadly, I'm sorry.
The answer is Google it. Folks, if you want to know where to find them,
Evolutis the game.
All right, folks, if you want to watch what we do on Twitch, we're on twitch.tv/dual-screen-streams. Our theme song, Retro Chatters, by Bradley Parsons at Train Sound Studio, and Andrew Douglas does our cartoon art, and Matt Murray does our overlays and our logos. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so by going to patreon.com/NDS podcast, just like our Patreon producer, Colton, the apprentice Nestler. We cannot continue to grow without all of your support, and just $1 gets you into our VIP Discord and a bonus episode in which you vote the topic every single month. Remember, we do have other shows that we do. One is live on twitch.tv/dual-screen-streams. That's on Sundays. That's the Games Cast. That's where Andy and I debate the hottest topics in gaming. That goes up on your podcast services as well. The same channel. It's not even a different channel. You subscribe to this channel and you get it all. And that goes up on Monday mornings. And then every other Friday, we are doing seasonal content. And we are in the middle of season 1 of Dual Screens Versus, a show where Andy and I yell at each other about various things. And a guest moderator comes in and gives us arbitrarily gives us points. And then we declare a winner. And that's really all that show is about. And it's a lot of fun. We had a blast. Andy, this last one that we did was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. It was a lot of laughs. Can't believe it goes up on the old podcast there.
Good one. Anyway, that is going to do it for us. Thank you, listeners, for hanging out with us. Thank you, Fernando. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Mike. It was a pleasure hanging out with you guys tonight.
Thank you, guys.
It was fun. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. It's been amazing.
Good luck with everything.
Get some sleep, Fernando.
Yeah, go to bed, Fernando. It's too late. Good luck with everything. Thank you, listeners. And as always, please be excellent to each other.